Well, welcome viewers, Dr. J.W. Ayub, theologist in the office, continuing the series, The Life of Muhammad and the verified revelation structure of the people of the book. We've made it relatively unscathed. I wouldn't say we're not scarred, but we've made it to episode 21 safely. The fear of betraying the ancestors. Viewers, children inherit more than beliefs. They inherit loyalties, emotional obligations, invisible agreements with the dead. And in the previous episode, inherited shielding quietly trained the children, which questions felt emotionally dangerous before examination was complete. And in this episode, the pressure deepens further, believe it or not, because eventually examination no longer feels like investigation. It feels like betrayal. The son begins asking questions about Muhammad's emerging Islamic ideology revelation structure and its relationship to the prophetic witness already carried among the people of the book. But the pressure no longer feels merely theological for the young Muslim. It feels personal, familial, ancestral. The room grows guarded. A fork turns slowly beside the plate, because once identity becomes emotionally fused to family continuity, inherited religion can begin functioning like inherited honor itself. To question the Islamic ideology structure starts feeling like dishonoring father, grandfather, lineage, memory, and the sacrifices they made. And the Muslim is no longer merely protecting doctrine. He's protecting belonging. And that is why inherited systems become extraordinarily difficult to examine honestly. Because the fear is rarely, what if this is false? The fear becomes, what happens to my identity if those before me were wrong? And viewers, that pressure reaches deeply into the nervous system of the Muslim. A quiet sigh slips into the pause. Nobody wants to become the fracture in the family line. And the Qur'an itself repeatedly acknowledges inherited religious following. Qur'an 43:23 says, "Indeed, we found our fathers upon a religion, and we are in their footsteps following." And for the Muslim, that statement matters enormously here, viewers, because inherited allegiance can preserve continuity even before truth has already been examined. And once ancestry becomes emotionally sacred, examination itself begins feeling morally dangerous. The Muslim child who once inherited silence eventually becomes the adult who inherits responsibility for protecting the atmosphere itself. Viewers, the room begins protecting itself very carefully. A difficult historical contradiction is redirected before it's fully unfolded. A comparison with biblical prophetic continuity becomes emotionally unsafe before the evidence is weighed. A question about Muhammad's relationship to prior revelations suddenly feels like disloyalty to the people who raised you, to your elders. viewers, that is the inherited fear. Not merely fear of being wrong, because the Muslim may not be wrong. It's fear of becoming emotionally separated from the family identity itself. Yet, the biblical revelation structure repeatedly confronted inherited loyalty when loyalty stood against truth. Jesus himself said, "And do not call anyone on earth your father, for one is your Father, he who is in heaven." Matthew 23:9. The issue was never hatred towards ancestry. The issue was authority. Who governs truth when family loyalty collides against verified revelation? That becomes the pressure point now for the Muslim, because once inherited honour begins governing examination, conscience itself starts negotiating against truth, pressure internally, because truth in the conscience is going to cause pressure. And the atmosphere changes before the collision arrives. A distant car passes outside. Nobody reaches for the conversation again, and quietly the fear settles into the room. If Muhammad's later claim does not align with the already established prophetic witness carried among the people of the book, then what exactly has been inherited across the Muslim generations? I'm Dr. J.W. Ayub, theologist since 1994. And I'm going to ask you to like and subscribe if you want this content to continue. Press the bell if you like it. Leave it if you don't. Comment to educate me, and do yourself and somebody else a favour and share the video. In the next episode, we're going to move into the Islamic ideological cost of leaving the structure. Because once inherited identity becomes emotionally fused to religious continuity, the fear of examination eventually becomes fear of social, relational, and existential loss itself. And I'll see you then.